Here, look. Like I sat on the Climate Action Committee. I was a member of that committee. I think for 8 months we deliberated. We were in here. I spent lots of hours going through and teasing out what the Citizens' Assembly said. I just want to take off where Deputy Fitzmaurice left off in relation to my support for the agricultural sector in County Limerick. A very heavy dairy sector, and as I said, milk and cows back in 2009 and 10 and 11 and 12 was a huge help in pulling us out of the recession, and we need to be mindful of that. It's our natural resource. Agriculture is our natural resource in Ireland. We don't have oil. We don't have any other natural resources. We have agriculture, and that has been our natural resource, and we need to mind that at all costs. But we need to do it in a balanced fashion, and I've been speaking to the farming organisations and spoke to them as part of that committee. And farmers are willing to step up to the plate, and farmers do understand that there's going to have to be changes and transition that will take place. But it has to be done in a balanced fashion over a phased period of time, so that the hurt or economic hurt is not felt, and that transition can take place. And that has to be done across all the sectors. And that leads on to my next point in relation to public consultation. You see consultation happening here within the Dáil. You see ideas coming forward, people speaking in relation to the west of Ireland, obviously myself in Limerick. The likes of Deputy Burton mentioned earlier on about ratings and kind of a checklist to be done for houses and retrofitting. These are the ideas that are starting to come through that will affect people on the ground and that will help people on the ground. So, Minister, public consultation, I think, is paramount. And I know I've said this to you privately as well, and I do welcome that that has started. I know Minister Creed is starting a public consultation process, as well as yourself and Minister O'Donoghue. But that public consultation process, we specified that inside the committee, was paramount in actually getting this successful I suppose, number one, stop the misunderstandings and misinformation. Number two, have peer-to-peer learning and discussions between people on the ground, a bottom-up type communication process. Because if we get this wrong and we get the public's backup, we're going to set ourselves back 10, 20, 30 years in trying to do this. And that mistake has happened before in the past in relation to other issues, and we don't want to repeat that mistake. So, as I said, that public consultation is key here, and that education is key to take the politics out of it. And I've said this before in the Shannon, that we need to avoid political parties playing politics with this and actually sticking to the facts. And speaking about the facts and being able to help people and communicate with people, because this affects us all. It's not an issue that's owned by any particular political party or group. It affects us all. So it's paramount that we get it right. Just in relation to Project 2040, transport, I'm a big believer in our economic development as well as our climate change policies. And I want to see the motorways that are moving at the moment in relation to the Cork-Limerick motorway and the N21 Limerick Foynes route with the Adair bypass. I want to see those proceed, and there is no reason whatsoever why they should be stopped, or there was no reason why it should be even muted that they were to be stopped. Because it's my understanding, Minister, that the public spending code, and correct me if I'm wrong, will be reformed to include a shadow price of carbon, which is a hypothetical surcharge to market prices for goods or services that involve significant carbon emissions. And this can be done real time as each project comes up, whether it's 2024, 25 or 26. Because it's proposed the shadow price of carbon will go to €32 per tonne by 2020, €100 per tonne by 2030 and €265 per tonne by 2050. So each one of those projects can be costed real time as they arise. Whereas if you stop it now, as has been suggested in other quarters, and you cost it now, you're again going to have to cost it again in 2024 or 25, so you're costing it twice. So it totally defeats the purpose. So we need to progress with these projects. They're paramount for economic development, particularly in County Limerick. The Adair bypass is needed years ago. The Limerick Foynes route is required in relation to the deep water port of Foynes. It's the Tier 1 port in Europe. You've got Cork, Dublin and Foynes. They're the three Tier 1 ports in Europe. Foynes can develop because it's not surrounded by a city. It's a small country town that would provide more jobs for that area and the greater Midwest region, with its sister airport just across the Shannon. Freight can now come, freight at the moment is coming from Kildare down to Foynes to avoid the bottlenecks in Dublin when it comes to rush hour, because it's about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 40 minutes. But if you put that motorway in, you'll bring that time right down for the freight to move. And that frees up the whole Midwest. That moves us into the balanced region development, rural Ireland, bringing people into rural Ireland, having that Cork-Limerick motorway connect with that as well. And put electric vehicles on the motorway afterwards. And that mitigates the climate action on that. So look, there's just transition to be required here, a lot of public consultation. I would encourage all parties to work together like we did inside in the Climate Action Committee. I started from a position of ignorance to where I am today in relation to climate action, and I've really learned so much from the journey beyond there. But it's how we lead on this now, and I'm telling you, how we lead on this will affect how a generation will perceive us going forward and the future generations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.